November is an absolutely stacked month of game releases for the PlayStation 4, and in this video, we want to go over every single big game that's coming to the PlayStation 4 in November. We've got 10 games to go over, so let's get right into this. First up, Cat Quest. Cat Quest is an open-world RPG set in an awesome world of cats. In search of your kidnapped sister, you go into the massive continent of Felingard, a world crafted in the style of overworld maps, and it's a very charming and aesthetically pleasing game. No, I doubt this is the type of game that you will be super emotionally invested into, but it is a game that's worth checking out. Cat Quest releases on November 14th. Road Rage. In Road Rage, you have to race, fight, and hustle your way through the ranks of the most insane outlaw motorcycle gang in Ashen to change the fate of your city and restore control. It's set in a city torn apart by violence and underground crime. The key to surviving is earning money and riding fast. There's nearly 100 total melee and story-based missions, 4-player online multiplayer, 4-player local multiplayer, 11 different characters, and then you've got customizable skins, wheels, weapons, all that kind of jazz. Not a lot of gamers have been talking about Road Rage, but it is one you should keep your eye on. It releases on November 14th.
Female, a hardcore Harley guy, or a cutthroat femme fatale. We live in a city called Ashen, which unfortunately has gone to hell in a handbasket. The police have taken measures to rein in the situation, but the gangs have taken over, leaving you no other option than to join or die.
There are 98 missions in Road Rage, including 42 story missions and 56 side missions. These range from all-out brawl to timed races and more.
Missions will require you to race and knock out opponents, which is a great way to earn some cash. You can also earn loot through other objectives.
Throughout the open world, you'll ride through many different environments.
The Sims 4. After an 8-year absence, The Sims is finally coming back to consoles and to PlayStation. You'll be able to get the full Sims 4 experience on the PlayStation 4. The current generation of hardware has enabled the developers to translate code to the PlayStation 4 without any major system changes. It's no longer about which platform has the superior version, but where you like to play. Series creator Michael Duke has said this won't be an extremely watered-down port with fewer buildings, careers, and interaction options. Rather, it'll be the full Sims 4 experience, and you'll be able to get your hands on that November 17th. Need for Speed Payback. The racing game franchise is back once again, and hopefully Need for Speed Payback will be better than 2015's Need for Speed title. Payback is once again a racing game, and it's set in an open world environment. It'll be focused on action driving, and it'll have 3 different playable characters, each with different sets of skills. They work together to pull off action movie-like sequences, and it'll feature a 24-hour day and night cycle unlike the previous game. And Payback will thankfully also have an offline single-player mode, which is great. You'll get your hands on Need for Speed Payback on November 10th.
Sunny, it's hot, it makes you thirsty just looking at it, and it's the perfect setting for an action movie heist like the one you're about to do.
So one of the things that's already really cool is that I can just drive off-road. You're no longer confined completely to the road.
That's right, it's the most open Need for Speed experience we've ever built, so you can find your own path. I mean, we've got checkpoints in this mission to lead you straight to that truck, but when you're free roaming, you can go off-road, you can explore this world. It's massive, and there's tons to explore and tons to find.
Cool. So what's going on here? There's the truck. That's what we got to take down.
Rendezvous point. The crew, they're meeting here. They're waiting for this truck. It's carrying the $2 million Koenigsegg egg. It's going to whiz past here and then.
LA Noire. LA Noire was one of the more interesting Rockstar games released last generation. It's a crime detective noir game, and while it wasn't perfect, LA Noire was a very interesting game with some extremely interesting design choices. Obviously, what you're gonna notice about LA Noire right away is the facial animations. They are so realistic, and that's what the game's all about. You really have to come to a conclusion with little information and just reading faces. There is some traditional gameplay to LA Noire as well, but that isn't all too well done, but still Still, LA Noire was such an interesting game that if you've never played it, you should definitely check it out on November 14th. .hack GU Last Recode. The PlayStation 2 was a haven for some of the best JRPGs ever, and while the .hack GU trilogy probably doesn't rank among the top 1 or 2, it was a very good JRPG franchise. It was the follow-up to the first 4 .hack games, but you don't need to play those to enjoy .hack GU. It's got its own story, new characters, and it is a lot of content for your money. You get all 3 games, and all 3 of them have a lot of content, although some of it does get a little bit redundant, as they do share a lot of the same locations, but they do introduce new ones as well. Obviously, as any collection would have it, there will be graphical refinements, it'll look a lot better, technical improvements, as well as some gameplay refinements, and a 4th episode included that I highly doubt will be as long as the main 3, but that's still a very nice inclusion. .hack GU Last Recode drops on November 3rd. Call of Duty World War II. The juggernaut known as Call of Duty is back once again for its yearly release. Now it's taking the series back to World War II. It's been a long time since we've seen that huge wave of World War II first-person shooters, that going back to World War II now in 2017 is actually a breath of fresh air. And as we know with Call of Duty, it's always nice to see a breath of fresh air. Gameplay-wise, the multiplayer is taking a shift. Instead of your usual create a class system, World War II features divisions. You choose 1 out of 5 divisions, each with their own different basic combat training, division training, and weapon skills. This also eliminates perks, as players need to progress through ranks and divisions in order to use additional skills. There will also be a campaign mode, and a zombies mode will also be included with its own alternative story. If you're not a Call of Duty fan at this point, I doubt that World War II is going to change your mind, but for fans of the series, it drops November 3rd.
Character in their own way, and how do you maybe adjust like how you design the game or how you design the multiplayer experience around that?
Around the different weapons? Well, I mean, it's, you know, you're jumping there, but you know, with all the iconic weapons that we have in World War II, it's funny because when we first started, we didn't think there were going to be as many as we found, right? We were a little worried about the variety, but now the variety and the amount of weapon power, and like you said, some of them are really brute force weapons.
Yeah.
You know, you can find the weapon that you really want.
Sonic Forces. After the great Sonic Mania, we have another Sonic game on the way in November, and that is Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces is your higher budget title, and gameplay is similar to Sonic Generations, with players controlling classic and modern versions of Sonic. The former plays in a 2.5D side-scrolling view reminiscent of the original Sonic games, and the latter is more of a 3-dimensional style that's similar to Sonic Adventures, Sonic Colors, games like that. As far as the story goes, Sonic the Hedgehog is a member of a resistance force against Dr. Eggman, who has taken over the world with the help of his robot army. Pretty standard Sonic fare. What we've seen thus far of Sonic Forces has looked really good, and Sonic is on a high right now after Sonic Mania. Hopefully Sonic Forces can continue that momentum when it drops on November 7th.
In just 3 short days, my plan will eliminate the bothersome lot of you.
Fine. I will teach you fear, then pain.
We have to show them that strength doesn't just come from numbers.
Let's go!
Together we can show the world what we can do. You are next to me and I'm next to you. Push me through until the battle's won. No one's gonna get thrown into us. Into each other.
When we join forces, the sky's the limit.
Horizon Zero Dawn: The Frozen Wilds. Horizon Zero Dawn was one of the highly anticipated PlayStation 4 titles this year. You can make an argument that it was the most hyped up PS4 exclusive this gen so far. Guerrilla Games, the creators of Killzones, did a really good job with the game. It wasn't perfect, but they set an awesome foundation for what could be one of Sony's biggest franchises. And the Horizon Zero Dawn experience isn't over yet. We have an expansion dubbed The Frozen Wild on the way in November. As the title suggests, this will take place in a snowy region, and technically it looks just as good as Horizon Zero Dawn, and more of Horizon is always welcome. Horizon Zero Dawn: The Frozen Wilds drops on November 7th.
To challenge themselves in a land like no other. But they never find glory, only death.
I'm not here for glory. I'm here for the mountain. For answers.
Then you must face the beast that guards it.
Finally, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Speaking of highly anticipated PlayStation 4 titles, the first Star Wars Battlefront was another one of them. Released in 2015, Star Wars Battlefront was riding an enormous train of hype, and I think that most people would agree in saying that Star Wars Battlefront didn't live up to the hype. The fundamentals of the game were very strong, however, there just wasn't enough content in the game to justify a $60 purchase. That looks to be remedied in the sequel with Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now we've got a traditional single-player campaign mode that's story-driven. We've also got more content in the multiplayer mode with multiple classes, extra gameplay elements. This is what Star Wars Battlefront should have been from the get-go. The beta was great, so hopefully Star Wars Battlefront 2 delivers this time around. It releases on November 17th.
You want to play as the assault class, and you really want to focus on having a great grenade. You know, this allows you to upgrade your grenade over time so it does more damage, or maybe it has a larger explosion radius. You're trying to collect cards to give yourself more gameplay tools in your toolbox for each of your various classes. And the beta is just a sliver of what we have available, but we want to give players a taste of what they want in. We want to make sure that people are trying to pick the right classes that complement each other. That way you can get in there, try to work with, say, the officer, which is one of my favorite classes. Do they want to sit there and, you know, buff the team, try to get into that point, grab the artifact and get out?
So that wraps up every big PlayStation 4 game coming in November. What do you think? Which PS4 games are you the most excited for next month? Let us know in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching and goodbye.